The fallout from Donald Trump's connections to Jeffrey Epstein is shaking the MAGA world. Trump is facing declining support among his base, conflicts with his cabinet, and public embarrassment for his press team. Even those tasked with promoting his message are struggling. Last night, a Fox host visibly faltered on air as new Epstein-related evidence was discussed, shortly after Stephen Miller also appeared overwhelmed. We'll break down all the developments, but first, if you enjoy this content, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps support our work. Before diving into the Fox host's reaction and Stephen Miller's meltdown, let's start with what Lawrence O'Donnell had to say last night, providing essential context and the latest reporting on the Epstein scandal.
And Ghislaine Maxwell was not asked a single question about that email by Donald Trump's criminal defense lawyer, who now serves as Donald Trump's Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche, who went to Florida to do a so-called interview with Ghislaine Maxwell. The Justice Department could have had that email and hundreds of other emails that we haven't seen yet that would be very specific about Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, that would have been legitimate and serious points of questioning for Ghislaine Maxwell, who's never, ever answered questions to any federal prosecutor or in her federal criminal trial about any of this. Donald Trump has obviously been living all year in fear of release of the Jeffrey Epstein files, and tonight that fear has to be more intense than ever. The fear that makes him snap and call Republicans very bad and stupid is an informed fear. It is not an irrational fear. It's an informed fear, because Donald Trump knows exactly what his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein was. We don't. Donald Trump knows exactly how much direct exposure and familiarity he had with the people Jeffrey Epstein calls the girls in his email. We don't. We don't know that, but Donald Trump does. Donald Trump knows everything about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein that might be in the Epstein files. And knowing everything that Donald Trump himself knows about his relationship to Jeffrey Epstein, Donald Trump had a choice. He could have said, let it all come out. I have nothing to fear because I know everything about it and I know there's nothing to fear. Or knowing everything Donald Trump knows about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, and after having been briefed about what the Epstein files say about him by his Justice Department, Donald Trump seems to have decided that the Epstein files must never come out. That's the position he has chosen. And now the dog is barking at the very bad and stupid Republicans who support the release of the Epstein files. After the dog barked at those Republicans and called them bad and stupid at 2:03 p.m. today, 4 hours later, Politico reported senior Republicans privately believe dozens of Republicans will vote for it, possibly 100 or more, according to 5 people granted anonymity to speak candidly. And so the mad, barking dog might be on his way to creating the biggest bipartisan landslide vote against Donald Trump the House of Representatives has ever seen. Tonight, instead of looking at the Epstein files that were created by the Justice Department's investigation into Jeffrey Epstein, we are looking at emails about Donald Trump written by Jeffrey Epstein that were in the possession of Jeffrey Epstein's estate after his death. And we have those emails tonight thanks to a thread of luck that began 112 days ago when Amy Schuster decided that the guests on this program that night should be attorney for Epstein survivors Brad Edwards, along with Congressman Ro Khanna.
The attempted cover-up has never been more obvious, and for Donald Trump's team, it's also been a failure. By trying to distance himself from the Epstein scandal, Trump has only drawn more attention to it. His decision to shut down the government for 8 weeks and delay key appointments, like that of Adelaide Grijalva, didn't make the story disappear. It amplified it. His efforts to run from accountability are exactly why the issue continues to grow. Even conservative media outlets have struggled to contain the fallout. Fox News avoided covering the story for most of the day. until Stephanie Miller appeared on air and the situation unraveled, with Sean Hannity visibly flustered as new Epstein-related evidence was shown. Right after that, we also witnessed Stephen Miller's on-air breakdown, both moments underscoring how unstable the Trump camp has become in the face of mounting revelations.
It was funny, but if it was anybody else, I probably wouldn't think it was as funny. So, well done.
Thank you for being the only one on the right that gets the joke. Sean, it was a joke. And then, you know, the funniest thing about this story is Trump's all over the Epstein files. And I wonder if they're going to release that after the big bombshell. I didn't see anything about that on Fox News today. Yeah.
I heard
okay.
Bill
So
Clinton's in
let's
it.
release them. Let's release those files. Is this what passes for news? Is this what passes for news on Fox News?
Why
that I
did you
did a
kiss her
joke
feet?
picture?
I mean, think about the contrast, Sean. President Trump bringing trillions of investment into America, giving Americans trillions of dollars in tax cuts. And what do Democrats do in their big moment? They steal hardworking money from our taxpayers, they cancel their flights, and they destroy billions of dollars in economic value. You will not see a clear contrast. The Democrats are the party of destruction. President Trump is leading the party of creation, opportunity, and wealth.
Are you,
Stephen Miller's exchange with Sean Hannity completely threw him off balance. And right after that, Stephen Miller joined in and had his own on-air meltdown. It's chaos over at Fox right now. The network seems to be unraveling in real time, with no spin or distraction able to contain the fallout. Even Trump's own base is beginning to turn on him, flooding Truth Social with demands like, "Why won't you release the Epstein files? Where's the evidence?" Those questions are impossible to ignore, especially since this was a major issue on Trump's campaign trail. Yet, rather than transparency, the Trump team keeps escalating the secrecy. For example, they reportedly had to bring Lauren Boebert into a secure situation room just to discuss the Epstein files. Why such extreme precautions for a conversation that should be about accountability? What are they hiding that requires such a lockdown environment? Every move they make only raises more questions. Former Fox host Megyn Kelly even weighed in, acknowledging how damaging these revelations are for Trump, though her main criticism wasn't about the scandal itself, but about how poorly the public relations effort has been handled. That's a shocking takeaway. Her focus wasn't on the victims, the crimes, or the accountability. It was on image control. She even made a disturbing comment minimizing the seriousness of trafficking based on age, saying we should look at the specifics, which only highlights how disconnected this entire circle has become. This obsession with managing optics rather than confronting the truth mirrors what we've seen globally. Politicians trying to win the PR war instead of addressing real harm. But this isn't a branding issue. You can't spin your way out of something this serious. And as Congressman Ro Khanna put it last night, that detachment from reality, that willingness to protect power instead of people, is exactly what defines this political class.
Well, I think we need to investigate and interview Maxwell again, although, of course, her credibility is not very high. But we also know that there are other emails. There are more emails that likely mention Donald Trump, and we need to investigate those and see really two things. I mean, there's a question about what happened with underage girls, but there's also a question of how many people, including Donald Trump, did they know about the abuse, and did they just sit there and not do anything with the abuse? And that is, in my view, equally damning. I mean, who does that if you know someone is raping junior high girls to just sit there and still be friends with them? And this whole thing is going to come and be exposed, both Donald Trump and what I call the Epstein class. They need to have their day of accountability.
What do you expect to see next week? Is it just the vote on the discharge petition, or will there be any other developments next week?
Well, there'll be the vote on the discharge petition. Of course, the numbers matter, Lawrence. You're more of an expert on the Senate than I am, but the bigger the number in the House, the more likely there is that this gets taken up in the Senate. And I'd like it to get taken up in the Senate because that's really obviously what will force the release, but it also will send an incredible message in this country of people standing up to Trump. There's also further investigation. We expect more document releases, and then we have a press conference on Tuesday. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massie and I, Bradley Edwards, and the survivors, and they're getting some of the survivors who haven't told their story before, and they're going to talk about what really is in these files and what they want to see in terms of justice.
Congressman Ro Khanna, thank you very much for joining us once again tonight on this important story.
Over the past few months, certain Democratic leaders have really stood out for their ability to get results. Ro Khanna comes to mind, as does Robert Garcia, and Jasmine Crockett has been relentless in driving her message. This emerging generation of leaders may well represent the path forward for the party. Instead of relying on the 8 Democratic senators who folded under pressure or on Chuck Schumer, it may make more sense to lean on leaders like Robert Garcia, who consistently deliver. We'll continue highlighting this on the show. If you want to support our work, hit subscribe, leave a like, and if you watch to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I will see you soon.